Hi, how are you? My friends, we are creators, and that means that we're here because we understand the value of shared information. Having access to information is the most direct way to empower ourselves. We all have someone in our life who has been willing to go before us and share, and we're grateful for that, and we're hungry for more. What if I told you that the secret to doubling your income and your impact, though, lies not in creating more, but in sharing more? Today, we're going to be talking about education and how education empowers, enriches, and transforms not only the lives of our students, but of our own life as well. My hope is that whether you are an educator or you might be thinking about being an educator, that I'll give you the tools today to make your education irresistible. I'd love to get same page before we dive in. So, interaction, if you agree with the statement, just raise your hand. I am a creator. If at any point you stop agreeing, lower your hand. Deal? I love what I do. I believe everyone should love what they do. I want no cap to my income. Yes, no hands went down on that one. I want to make a positive impact on my industry. Okay, I knew we were in good company. I want to become further mastered in my expertise. Okay, and I'm an educator. Everyone? Some. Okay, so I knew that many of you would be. And my goal is that if you lowered your hand at this point, that by the end of our time together, that you'll be inspired to join these people. Online learning is the fastest growing part of the education industry in the world. In 2022, 220 million people took an online class. In 2029, they estimate it to be 1 billion. So if you've been waiting to join the educators, my friends, the time is now. The time is now. But I get it. I think that educating is scary. I think that we feel like keeping our secrets is kind of what gives us a competitive edge as a creator. But what I want to show you today is that sharing your secrets is actually what gives you your competitive edge. I used to believe that keeping my secrets was what would keep me ahead, until one day that I realized that I was holding on to my secrets, and holding on to them was holding me back. It made me think about holding a dandelion, where a dandelion is the same potential, where if we release the seeds, they go, they root, they grow, and they do the cycle all over again. And it's the same way with our knowledge. Our only question is, are we going to release? Are we going to release our knowledge? When you keep your secrets, it comes at a cost. It means that you miss out on valuable skills, soft skills like leadership and empathy and things like public speaking. It also means you lower your impact, meaning without your contribution, your potential to influence remains untapped. It means a stifled legacy. Teaching allows you to pass on what you know, impacting generations to come long after you're no longer actively creating. It also means a lack of mastery, because we know that the best way to learn something is to teach something. Because while we teach, we learn. The process of teaching forces you to organize the information that you have and think about it more critically and simplify complex concepts. When we're willing to let go and share our secrets, we drastically enhance our skills. We deepen our understanding and we increase our personal mastery. It's kind of a trick. Like if I really want to learn something, I'll just commit to teaching it, and I know that I'll learn it while I go, right? Professional network is huge. When you're an educator, you're seen as a leader in the industry, and it enhances your ability to connect with others and to be seen as a leader. It also gives you more joy. There is something about seeing what you teach impact someone else's life that gives you so much satisfaction in what you're doing. It also means uncapped income. Education is one of the most scalable revenue streams available to creators. Specifically, it's one of the most beautiful streams of residual income. So residual income is when you do the work once and you get paid for it over and over and over and over again. Sound good? Now, it doesn't come without its challenges. There's a reason why we're not all educators. It's uncomfortable. We're shy, we're not good in front of the camera, we don't like our voice, all the things. There's a tech learning curve, right? Even though Nathan has made it much easier now, we have the whole kit. We don't have enough time as it is. It's something that we all feel like. And we're not sure if our skills are going to be able to translate into education. But for crazy, creative entrepreneurs like us, challenges are kind of fun. This is why. There's no lack of ideas, right? With every idea that we begin to implement, we will meet a challenge. And here's where most people fall off, but not you. You in this room will not fall off. You will figure it out. You will keep going. And you, my friend, will find success. One more. There it is. Creators who overcome these challenges can create a ripple effect, just like a dandelion gone to seed, where each piece of knowledge spreads and takes root, grows, and then starts the cycle all over again. Did you know that less than 5% of creators turn their knowledge into educational content? Yet those who do typically see exponential growth. It kind of reminds me of this big, beautiful apple tree that I planted in my garden. It's right there. I planted this apple tree 7 years ago with the idea that I would take my children down to the apple tree and we would pluck an apple and have a snack in the garden together. My friends, we're 7 years in, and I haven't had the first apple. Who knows why? It needs a mate. My friends, it needs a mate. So apple trees must have a mate in order to cross-pollinate and thus bear fruit. Now, my big, beautiful apple tree is not dying. It's growing, but it's not bearing fruit. And it makes me think that it's very much like our creativity without its buddy, education. When you combine these two, you're suddenly not just growing, you're also bearing fruit. I believe that as creators, we are called to be educators. We always have been, and we're next in line. But I never set out to teach. It was one of the most surprising things that ever happened to me in my life. My biggest goal was to become a fabric designer. I learned the hard way. I set out to piecemeal my education together from every corner of the internet, and it was hard. I did it during the time that my husband and I were walking the line of poverty for the state that we were living in. We decided that doing something that we loved was more important than making money. So we sold a car, and I chauffeured him to work every day. And I drove myself back home, and I pulled myself up to my IKEA desk, and I got to work. And at the end of 2 years, I became a fabric designer. This was in 2012. And standing on the other side of my biggest dream coming true, I was frustrated that it had been so difficult. I had wasted so much time learning the hard way, learning things that I didn't need to learn. And I was sad that the industry was so closed, okay? So I set out to change that. The only problem was that I was struggling with all of these challenges. But I started. I started anyways. I awkwardly got my camera out, and I started, and then I started again, and I started over and over and over and over again. Very much struggling with all of those same challenges. I need my notes back there. This is me struggling with imposter syndrome and hating how I looked on camera and not being good in front of people and speaking. I didn't know how to put together my curriculum. I didn't know how to transfer my skills. I was crippled with imposter syndrome. But then I had an opportunity of a lifetime come to me in 2014. a company asked me to come teach for them. And I spent 6 months developing a 2.5-day class that covered everything that had taken me 2.5 years to learn. And I went and I did the hard thing. And I got home and I collapsed on my sofa and I told my husband, never again. I'm done. It was great, and also I'm exhausted. And I'm done, and it was hard, and it was difficult, and it was nerve-wracking, and I don't ever want to teach again. And then emails started rolling in, and I began hearing stories, specifically from women all over the world who had somehow gotten permission from something that they learned from me to start living out their dreams. And that is when I realized, whether I wanted to or not, that my work had really only just begun. So I went all in. In 2018, I launched my signature course. I have since graduated 13,000 students, brought in $25 million in gross revenue. And I did it all, my friends, by holding nothing back. I've built my entire business on sharing my secrets. And today, I get to share that with you. Okay? So I know you're thinking about courses and classes, which, yes, absolutely, but there are so many different ways to build in education into your business. You need to just pick one to start, or you need to pick your next one. Oh, you want this? Let me get out of the way. You just need to pick one and get started, okay? So the first thing you need to do is start to wrap your mind around moving from creator to educator. You're not leaving being a creator. You will always be a creator, but you've got to also understand the difference. So as a creator, we often work in solitude. Our process, our creativity is kind of in a bubble, in our bubble. When you move into education, you have to open that fully. Your process becomes part of your teaching. You also have to wrap your mind around how knowledgeable, how valuable your knowledge is. Every skill you've mastered, every mistake you've learned from holds incredible value for someone who is just starting out. A successful online educator recognizes that there is a problem that they can solve, effectively reaches people who have that problem, solves it for them, and thus completely transforms the lives of their students. There's 4 stages to doing this. Number 1 is to spot the problem and the potential to solve that problem. Next, you're going to evaluate the demand for said solution and your passion for meeting it. Next, you're going to elaborate. Let's define that transformation and start developing your education. Then you're going to deliver and delight. Now, I call this the SEED framework, S-E-E-D. So let's begin with S, spot, problems, and potential. So when you think about problems and potential, the best way to start is to begin asking questions. What do most people ask you about? Your FAQs are a gold mine. So what are you often getting asked about? What do you struggle with, or what did you struggle with? Now, for many of us, we are, like our ICA is an earlier version of ourselves. How many is that true for? It is for me. And though every year I'm 1 year further away from her. And so I have to sit with this so much, really sit and think about what were my struggles, what kept me up at night, what was overwhelming, what was frustrating to me when I was starting out. What do people gasp at in your process? You know, the like, you do what? Okay, if you ever get that, you should probably teach that. That's the thing. And what do you do differently? So the best way to think about what do you do differently, meaning in your creator process, there is something. It doesn't have to be, when you think about education from a macro standpoint, it's like, you want me to teach my whole thing? Maybe. But when you think about what do I do differently, you can go to one micro part of it, one thing that you do different from anyone else, and run with it. So the best way to do this is to mind map your process. Literally, you are going to mind map every moving part of your process, and you're looking for just one part of it that solves a problem. Now, if you're still not sure, now this can help you identify the first thing you're going to teach. It can also identify the next thing you're going to teach, which I don't know, I've been in education now for nearly a decade, and I'm doing this right now because there's a new thing, and I don't quite know what it is yet. So I don't wonder. It's kind of a rule in my business. I don't. I just ask, okay? So there are 4 questions that I ask my audience every single year. They are, what are you currently struggling with when it comes to your industry? And you've got to add the industry part because you don't want to know just what they're struggling with. We'll learn that the hard way. If you could wave a magic wand and have anything figured out in your business right now, what would it be? What would you like to learn from me next? Bonus points if they have like a ABCD selection. And what is your biggest dream or goal as it pertains to success in the industry? I do this once a year, and from these answers, I generate every piece of education that we create. I don't ever wonder. I just ask. Now then, I make my audience co-creators with me, meaning we fill our conferences with people that students have recommended. We add lessons to our classes that our students requested, and we only offer classes that our students have voted on before as well. So anytime that you can bring your audience in with you, have them vote, have them be a part of the process, right? Don't we love that? As users, we love that, and it's also a great benefit to you. Let's move on to E for evaluate. This is when you're going to evaluate the demand for the solution and whether or not you're the one to do it. Demand. Are people asking you for it? This is your number one key to knowing that if you are getting asked for it, if you do it, it will be successful. Meaning you don't have to be asked for something to be successful, but it's a sure sign that it will be successful if you follow this trail. Are people searching for it on Google? You've got access to so much data when you do SEO research on what people are searching for in your industry, what questions do they have, what top questions are they Googling. Is there lots of free content around it online already? Now, if this is true, there's lots of free content. Is this good or bad? Show me. Yeah, it's good. It's so good because that means that there's a demand for it. It also means that there's a ton of confusion around it. And they're looking for someone to just reach their hand through the fog and say, I've got you this way. Okay? So I'm always looking for tons of free content around it online. Then you've got to assess whether you have a passion for it. Does it bring you joy? Do you want to be talking about it for a year, 5 years, and 10 years? I just did this practice because I think we're probably all great at ideating, and having ideas is really fun. And I just had this awesome idea, and someone on my team was like, do you want to talk about that for 10 years? And I was like, oh, no. It's a great qualifying question. And then also, remember, just because you can doesn't mean that you should. You want to always educate from your zone of genius. That's where your greatest talents and your greatest passions overlap. And when you educate from this perspective, creativity, joy, and impact align, which leads to extraordinary results. Next is elaborate. This is where we're going to define and develop what it is that you are going to teach and share. I want you to start by defining the transformation. You kind of want to start at the end. Then you're going to develop the curriculum and all of the marketing and all of the messaging to support that transformation. You're going to give them everything they need to achieve transformation and nothing that they don't need. What I want you to wrap your mind around is that if you go to your local nursery or garden store and you go shopping for seeds, do the seed packets have seeds on them? They don't, because people don't buy seeds. They buy flowers. So the seed packet, even though it's full of seeds, has flowers on the seed packet. But I would take this one step further and say that they're also not buying flowers. They're buying the feeling of walking into their garden and being surrounded by the flowers that they grew. So don't sell the seed when you could sell the feeling of walking into your garden. To put this into perspective, I could sell and talk about the fact that I teach Adobe Illustrator through 8 modules, 252 lessons over 12 weeks. Or I could talk about what it feels like to live a life as a creative, what it feels like to have your art on a product, how important it is, how impactful it is to have time freedom and location freedom, and what it means to create the beauty that you want to see come alive in the world. Okay, so this side is dedicated to the head buyer. Head buyers? Head buyers? No head buyers? Oh, okay, a few. This side is dedicated to the heart buyer. Heart buyer? Mm-hmm. One is logic and one is emotion. And you need both in order to make your education and your offer irresistible. So what I want you to do is work backwards. I want you to define the transformation and develop your offer first. From there, you will develop your opt-in. Does that seem backwards? From there, you will develop your opt-in because your opt-in must answer the question, what does someone need to know in order to be perfectly positioned and ready for my offer? You are going to work on this opt-in until you nail it. When it is nailed, you are going to add fuel to the fire with paid traffic, and you're going to light it up. Next, you're going to develop your nurture campaign. Again, perhaps backwards. Your nurture campaign must answer the question, what does someone need to believe in order to be perfectly positioned for my offer? This is how you make it irresistible and successful. Next in the seed framework is your delivery. You have to both deliver and delight. There are 3 parts to this. The first one is that you have to believe in what you sell. Like really, to your core. Feel like you're doing someone a disservice if you don't confidently tell them about what you have to sell. Meaning you can't transform their life if they don't buy it. Believe it to your very core. You also have to price it right. Now, I'm so excited about this. I think that pricing is really hard. And so I developed a course calculator, a course pricing calculator. And you're almost the first people to get it, even though I did test it thoroughly with a group of course creators. And so in 3 minutes and in 20 questions, you will be able to price your course or your class correctly with my course calculator. Please let me know what you think after you do it. Okay, part 3 is to measure your success by the success of your students. When you do this, oh wait, I want to talk about this. This is what we consider our queen bee role. Anybody familiar with this? This is your QBR as defined from Mike Michalowicz's book called Clockwork. So your QBR is identified as the most crucial task or function in your business that determines its success or failure. The one activity that must be protected and prioritized above all else. So we figure if we measure our success by the amount of success stories that we have, we're probably doing everything else okay. When you do this, you'll create results, and results create raving fans, and the best marketing is a happy customer. Delivering is not enough. You must also delight. The world is losing trust by the second. We, consumers, students, buyers, every day are arming ourselves with information on the right purchase. Is it us? Is it someone else? So our product must not only deliver, it must delight. It has to be remarkable. That means it has to be worthy of remarking on. It must delight. So a couple of ways that we do this. The first is from a mentor of mine. His name is Stu McLaren. I have to give him credit for this. Sell them what they want, then give them what they need. Most people are not coming to you for education on mindset and their limiting beliefs, and help with their sabotaging behaviors and their personal development. They're coming to you for a specific knowledge around a skill, advancing, right? But only you know that along with that skill, they must have these things in order to find success. And so you want to give it to them. Again, sell them what they want, and then also give them what you know that they need. All educators worry about the same stuff. This is kind of terrifying. We're worried about just creating more competition for ourselves, right? But being an educator means that you're always at the top of the curve, that you are the expert and leader in the industry. You're worried about criticism, or is that just me? What other people will think? I see this happen in the creator network a lot. Someone turns to education and people have feelings about it. And all I will tell you is that you will never be criticized by someone more successful than you. Being experienced enough, this is just good old imposter syndrome. You only have to be one step ahead in order to make a tremendous impact on someone else's life and their journey. It's never too early to start. It's never too early to start. You will actually never be experienced enough because there will always be people ahead of you. There will always be people behind you. You're ready if you've found something that works. You're doing something. You figured it out. You've overcome some challenges that you could speak in, you could help someone else avoid. You believe in the value of what you know. You're ready to connect with your audience in a new way. You want to continue your own growth. You want to continue your expertise. And you don't mind making money. You're ready. You're called to give back and empower those behind you. You're called to shape your industry and influence the next generation in your field. You're called to leave a legacy that extends far beyond your time as a creator. And you're called to pave the way for those coming behind you. So you get started by the SEED framework. Spot a problem and the possible solution. Evaluate the demand and your passion for solving it. Elaborate on it as you define and develop the education, and then deliver an irresistible offer and delight your students. Now, I could have talked about this all day, and I wanted to, and Haley said that I couldn't. And so I cheated, and I recorded 4 podcast episodes. These are for you. They're not public yet, and they won't be released for a while, but you can listen to them here. These are 10 reasons to teach why you know, how to properly craft your curriculum, how to nail the perfect topic, and 10 ways to monetize your expertise. Okay, so that's the podcast, and then the course calculator is also at the same link. My friends, share your secrets. Leave nothing untold. You were created to teach what you know, and even if you fail at first, try again.